All right, we have started the recording. So let me just go back. So for you to get started, so I created the S3 bucket, which is this one. The mutative bucket is 3. That's where we are going to have our input files, outputs, and the script files, and also the temp files. These are files that are going to be used by the ETL tool. So in the input, that's where now I create a folder, the folder where we're going to have now the customer CSV file. Then we have now the outputs. These are outputs. Now once we generate the files into different formats, could be maybe JSON, a TXT file, or whichever format that we want to output, that's where we're going to have them. So have the bucket is ready. So the next thing what you have to do, we have to set I've already set the accounts that I'm going to be using. So I guess most of the guys already know about how to set the accounts and how to give to grant the rights that you're going to use for that particular case. So in this case, I've created one AM role. This is where now you create the roles. Just come on search. I think we had the same. We had back then. I think we had a presentation about this, so I'm not going to take most of the time trying to show you how to create the AM roles and users. So, but I'll just showcase you just in case for this particular discussion. So for you to create a role, you just come here, let's say you want to create users. So let's try and see how many users that we have for this particular. So we have the admin. This is the user that I'm going to be using, and I have the full admin rights. So for you to add another user, you just click on add user. You assign the roles. The roles you give them the roles that you are going to be using. It could be the roles for the Redshifts, for accessing the Glue, and also other services within the AWS. So once you assign the roles, so now we have to go to the Glue. That's where we are going to use now to the tool we are going to use for the ETL. So just search on this one, you search Glue, and then you select the AWS Glue, which is an ETL tool where we are going to do some extractions, transformation, and loading. So let's give it some time just to load. It usually takes just a few minutes because it's an cloud-based system. So you have to give it some time and you have to be a little bit patient, but it's not going to take that long. So once you come here on the AWS Glue, we have the databases that's within the data catalog, the databases, the tables, the connections, and the crawlers. Tables, I think most of you understand what we mean by the term database. This is a database that's once you create it, it's going to hold a temporary, it's going to be like a temporary kind of database. And then once the crawler, you set the crawlers that are going to search for data. That's maybe the input data that want to do the transformations. It's also you are going to also set the same crawlers to do a connection now for the output data. Let's say if you want to connect to Redshift, you have to create a crawler. So, and also assign that crawler some connections here. And so we have that one. We also have the ETL tool. That's where now we are going to do the mappings, the source, define the source, and also the mappings, and also the targets. So, but first we have to define the database. So
for hey Dennis, quick question.
Yeah.
For the crawler.
Yeah.
Sure, I have some myself. All right. For the crawlers, have you set it up like from CDC? Like it's able to detect, like in a real life scenario, you have like files being dropped maybe on an overnight basis on the S3 buckets. So have you set it up like if you just drop something?
No, I've not set. What I've done, I've just set for that particular file that you are going to be using, but not all the folders within that
Okay.
input. So for this particular case, I will be using it for that particular folder. So
next time you need to think of it like also push it further.
Yeah.
So that if you drop like, let's say you have a CSV file, think of it, treat it like you have a daily CSV file.
Yeah.
So you should identify this is a new file.
Mm-hmm.
How you going to identify it? Maybe by using the file parameters.
Yeah.
If I check of the file, is the file accurate and things like that.
Yeah.
And then load it so that try to do like a real life scenario where you have like a live environment for a whole week so that you see how it's going. You are able to track the job. If there's a failure, it can maybe even like email you or text you or something.
Yeah.
Do like a real life scenario where it's like a live system and you every morning you just need to drop a new file, just a few records, drop a new file before that it processes.
Yeah.
For that.
All right. I'll work on that. So I defined some databases here. So this is a database that I created. So for you to create a database, you just come here. You say add a database. You give it a name, and then you say just create. So this is a database that's going to be used now by the crawlers. It will be like a similar kind of a database, not a real database, where it's going to extract the inputs and also the outputs tables or maybe files. So in this case, I have this one. And also we have now the crawlers. I had created one crawler here. This is the crawler that I had created. Just a second. There's a crawler so that now it can connect to the database but for this one, let me just create another one so that now I can show you a real case scenario. Just give it a name. Let's call it demo crawler. Data source. You can see here we have the crawler source type where you define now where it's going to be the source. Could be data stores, existing catalog tables. So, but for this particular scenario, we are going to use now the data stores. That's going to where we are going to extract the data from, and then you have to set now the repeat crawls for S3 data stores, crawl all folders, crawl new folders only, and also you can crawl change folders identified by the Amazon S3 event notifications. So I think, Mike, what you are talking about, I think this one, this is the option that you're able now to identify the new change files and also try and crawl through them. So, but for this one, let's use the crawl all folders. And then you are going to data source, data store. You have could be S3, JDBC. JDBC, let's say if you want to connect it now to maybe to Redshift or maybe to another database, external database. So, but for this particular case, we are going to use the S3. So that now I can just.
Another thing is, can you next time
Yeah.
Next time you add, try to connect to a database on like on-prem, because you can see you already have Oracle on your laptop, studio.
Yeah.
So try to kuona vile like connect Oracle.
Yeah.
Like data from like your Oracle, so that simulates like a on-prem to cloud data management.
All right. So you are just going to load data from the S3. So specify path in my accounts. That's the path you are going to specify. You have seen that we have the that's the, let me see, synthetic bucket 3. Here we have the inputs. Select the input. This is going to be the customer CSV file. So you click on next. Add another data store. You say no. Click on next. And also for this one, you have to select the IAM role for that particular service. So I'm just going to use the already existing. So I'm going to use the already existing role, and I created one for the Glue Studio. That's the role that I gave it. So I'll just select on that one. But if you want, you can also create a new role and you also assign it from here. And then you just refresh, it's going to appear on this drop down. Then you click on next. Frequency, select run on demand, hourly, could be daily, choose the days, weekly, depending on how you want that scroller to run. So you can just customize it depending on the requirements that you have for that particular job or maybe requirement. So for this particular case, we are going to run it on demand. That's the frequency that I'm going to use. Then create next. Then it's going to ask configure. Now this is the output where now you remember we already created a database that's going to be like a shadow database. So just select MusoDB. Or you can also add it from here. You click on add, it's going to show you. And also you add the prefix that's going to, you can say input like demo. Think I already have like inputs, so I'm just going to do like input demo, then I put the underscore. That's going out the prefix. There is going to be like inputs underscore demo underscore customer.csv. Then click next, and then you can see the configuration that we have already done. Then say finish. So once you say finish, so you can see we already have two crawlers here. This is the initial one. Now this is the new one that we have already created. So what we do is select on it. You can just select on it, or maybe you can just say run it now from this one. So it's going to run depending on the parameters or maybe the rules that we have already defined during the time we are creating that crawler. So I'll just say run it now. So it's going to run, and let's see the outputs. Let's see the schedule status logs. Let's wait for it. So it should take some time. And so if you are maybe connecting to a huge file, it might take some time. So let's give it a few minutes, maybe seconds, so that it can load. And we are going to see the outputs. It's going to create a new table. It's going to have an error. It's going to show us. So let's give it some time. It's good. You see, like for this one here, the moment I ran it, it took like 48 seconds, and it created one table. So let's wait for this one. Remember, this crawler is scrolling through the same input file, the same CSV file as the customer file. And let's give some time. I think it's almost. So you can see just created one table. This table is not like a table created within a real database. It's like a shadowed kind of database table.
But how comes you have to scroll us? Did you run the?
No,
This you had created two.
no, I just created this one, the second one for the demo, just to showcase what's been created. This one I created earlier.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This one is just for the demo. So you see, it's almost. So you can see it has added. If you see the status showing stopping, that means this one was taken 57 seconds. The last one took 40 seconds. So you can see this one has taken much more time than the previous one. So once you click on it, you are going to see, I think, like you have to refresh. Let me just refresh so that you can see the tables. At times you have to refresh it so it happens. So if you select on this database and then we select tables in MongoDB, we click on that one, it's going to show us the tables that are within that shadow DB. So you can see here we have now the input demo that we already defined the prefix, and now the output, that the inputs. That's now like a data catalog table that we are going to use now for the in our ETL tool. So we have this one already there. So we have now some connections. So let's say we want at this point we want to create to do a transformation for that. We want to transform that CSV file into maybe let's say a JSON format. Let me just show you that simple example before we go to Redshift. Yeah,
The crawler itself
yeah.
is just connecting to the customer file. What else is it doing? It's not. Is it doing the loading?
No, it's not doing the loading. The crawl is not doing the loading at this particular time. It just crawl to crawl the that is the data store where we have now the input file. It's not doing the
So
loading.
just
Yeah,
okay, just getting the data itself.
yeah, it's just simply getting the data itself. So we want
question for
yeah.
everybody else. I'm hoping everybody else is too silent. Is everybody else following up? That everybody should be able to do this. Make sure if you have a question, you're asking it.
We're following.
All right, then I think we are good to go. So since we already have we have the crawler, the input file. So let's now try and see if we can transform that. This file here. This file here. We want to try and see if you can transform it into a JSON file. So for this one, we have the ETL tool. That's AWS Glue is going to do now the transformation. So you just click on it and it's going to load. Let's give it a few seconds. It's a cloud-based ETL tool. And
Dennis, a question while it loads.
yeah,
On the crawler you just went through,
yeah,
my understanding of it was that it's used to fetch the metadata of the table you are going to work on.
yeah.
So for the question which Mike had asked, like if you are to check for a change in a file, let's say you had 35 students, now the new table has 36 students.
Mm-hmm.
So the crawler, I don't think will detect any change because the metadata is not changing, but the data within the table is changing.
It's going to detect. That's the
Which
work of the
tool?
crawler.
So it's not the meta. So which tool fetches the metadata? Because I thought that the crawler is the one fetching the metadata, like the description, the size of the column,
it's still the
and such
crawler. You
properties.
see, you can define the crawler how it's going to run. You can set it to run maybe once it detects some changes within that particular folder, or maybe within that particular connection. It's going to you set the frequency. I think if you were following, you have seen somewhere we had to set the frequency, how it's going to run. Either it could be on a daily basis, hourly, depending on the changes that's going to detect within that. So where you have the source files, could be maybe in a database, or maybe could be in the on the on the S3 buckets.
Okay, so it can detect both the change in let's say a data type. If I change a field from Varchar 20 to Varchar 25, and
Yeah,
it will still detect an additional column within that same file.
yeah. It's going to detect depends on how you have set the run frequencies, and also how you have defined your parameters.
Okay, you can continue.
All right.
So
So
that's where Dennis, you need to get another POC by at least by next week.
yeah,
All of these questions that we're asking, we want to see them practically,
yeah, yeah,
So you'll have to show this file has 30 records,
yeah,
then or the next day
yeah.
you
So
get another,
that can be, yeah.
something like that.
All right, all right. So let's go now to the ETL tool. That's AWS Glue Studio. So I think let's give it some time to load. So this is the AWS Glue Studio. So once you click on this menu icon there, you go to you have the jobs, the monitoring, the connectors. So what you want to do for us now to transform that data, we are going to create a job. A job is going to be like where we are going to define the source documents, the source files, the transformations, and also the job is going to, once we create a job, is the one that we're going to run, so that now it can transform that data from the source to the target. So let's click on the job. So one thing about this tool is that you can define, it's usually it has the default features where you can just click on it if you don't want to like create from scratch. So you can choose this one, feature with the source and targets, or maybe you can just use a blank one, feature with a blank canvas, where you are going now to define your own source, your own transformations, and your own targets, your own targets. So for this one, let's first start. We also have the Jupyter notebooks, the Python shell script editor. So for this one, we just want to create just a simple transformation. So we are going to use it it's going to be, the source going to be S3 bucket. And also the transformation is also going to be, the target is also going to be on a S3, where we're going to output the data. So we are going to, let's say, create. So on this one, you can see it's a node. The source, everything, the sources, the transformations in AWS Glue, they are defined. They are defined as nodes. And so once you load a node on this mapping tool, on this designer, you have to give it now the necessary parameters, depending on the requirements. So for this one, you can just change the name, call it the source, or maybe For this particular case, we are going to call it source. And also we have to define the node type. By default, we have seen that it was Amazon S3, or maybe you can try and say maybe because we have our own data catalog, we are going to say Amazon data catalog. So we are going to say, remember that crawler, the moment we ran it, there's a database that we had already defined, and so we are going to choose that one. I'll give you some time so that it can populate. So you can see it has the input that the moment we ran it, it generated a table. So this table is the one that you can see here, input demo underscore customer underscore CSV. So that's the file that we're going to use now to do the transformations. And also, if you come here, if you click on it, you can see the data preview. But this one you can see in data preview. Let's see, output schema. Now this is going to be like the output schema. So, but you can also apply some transformations on this output, on this one, on this other node here for transformations. So you can say, yep.
Yeah, where you had the data types still in the same window.
Output schema.
The volume is low than SK.
Sorry.
All right.
Okay. I hope I'm clearer now. So my question was, so this, I can see the first column key as the column names, and we have the data type. So I believe this is what the crawler was collecting from the CSV file.
Yeah, this is the this now
information that was populated in the tables in the data catalog.
Yeah. So the crawler automatically is picking out what we call it now the column, the custom ID, name style, title, and also the default data types of that particular CSV file. So this what it picked from that source file.
Okay, basically the metadata. Okay.
Yeah. So you can see this is going to be, if we don't apply any transformation, we are going to get the same output file, output data with the same values and also the data types, the key. But if we come here into the transformations, and now let's say we want to change this custom ID, we put underscore. You can also change the data type. You can also change the first name. I just want to do a simple demo so that everyone can understand just for this particular case. So for that one, we are done for that one particular transformation. Of course, we have other transformations. And one thing you have to note is that on this tool, you see here, we don't have anywhere now to link like the source to the transformation node, the source node to the transformation node, simply because the way maybe we do it on Informatica, we have to like assign like using some arrows. So let's say for this particular case, I want to remove this one. Yes. Oh, I'll show you with another example. Let's first finish on this one. So on the, but basically what I was saying is, if you want to link now the source, maybe let's say you want to link the source to the transformation, you just click on it, and you say, the moment you apply, you select on the transformation, it will automatically link the source and also to that particular transformation. But I'm going to show you with another example without using the default one. So we have now the bucket. This now going to be the targets. So you can just name it as targets. And you also have to choose how it's going. We want to have the outputs. Would be, we just want to have like a single output file, could be that, which is going to be stored on the S3 buckets. So select apply mapping. You have to again select the format that you're going to output it. So for this particular case, you just want to output it like a simple JSON file. So you have to select that one. So compression, leave it. Then we have to select now the target location. Remember on the S3 bucket, we had two folders, one for the input and the other one for the output. So we are going to browse on this one, but if maybe you have now that link, the link, you can just paste it here, but it's also good if you can just browse it. Give it some time, and I think it should be this one. I think it should be this one. Let's say click on it. Yeah, then you select on this. So you just say choose.
Quick question.
Yeah.
I thought we are using the demo.
The demo.
There were two of them. There's one that you had done earlier, and the one you had showing for this presentation.
That was for crawler. Now remember what he had created earlier was that was the crawler, but this one, all right. Let me show.
Sam, the crawler is just the tool is using to load the metadata. Then the S3 bucket is a general, the bucket which holds all this. So it's like the general thing. So everything else is holding within that S3 bucket. But the crawler is the one which had created a demo crawler.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
Okay.
So we have already now you have now given out the target location. So the next thing that we have to do is we have now to come to the, can give this one a name. It's like demo job. You can also give it a name that you want depending on now the requirements that you have. You have to come again to the job details so that now you can assign that demo, that job, you can assign the IAM role. Because if you don't assign it, it's not going to run, and also you won't be able to save it. So you have to come and assign the role. There's one that I'd already created for Google Studios, so that's the one I'm going to select. So you can also set these other parameters depending on the requirement that you have. So for this one, number of workers, I'm going to set it to 3. Number of retries, this one I'm going to set to 2. Number of retries, I'm going to set to 1. So, and also you can give it a descriptions, define what this particular job is going to do. You can input that description here. So that's going to be easy for other developers who you are working with, or maybe you're collaborating with. So you just come and save. Going to take some time, just a few minutes or maybe seconds. So our job now is ready. So we can test it and see if it's going to output that CSV file as JSON file. So what you do, just come here, say click on run, give it some time. So once running, it has already started. So you can go to the monitoring window and try and see the progress. Should take some time. And you can also refresh it because it doesn't automatically get refreshed. It's also good to refresh it. All right. So it takes some time. So once it's successful, it's going to change from, I think this is blue, from this color, and we are going to see the green color here. If it's failed, it's going to show you the status here. It's also going to update. It's going to automatically update. So let's keep on refreshing because it doesn't automatically update. So it's also good to keep on just refreshing so that we can see the status. Give it some time. Let's refresh second time. So you have to be a little bit patient because you can imagine if you are doing for a huge file, you have to give it a few hours so that it can do the run. So give it a few minutes.
Okay, a question as you try to
Yep.
load it.
Yep.
I was asking if maybe during the entire process, if you're able to maybe do some data quality checks before loading the data from the source to the target. Does the tool, does it allow you to have some data quality, maybe to check if the data qualifies to be loaded? For example, if you had an initial load, phone number had this format, then during the next load, the format changes. Does it allow maybe for tracking and maybe alerting you on such kind of issues or instances?
For that
If
one,
it may.
you have to set the
Yeah.
filters. You see, once on the transformations, let's say you set a filter or maybe a rule. You set a rule so that now from the source, let's say you have a file that's coming up. It has some null files, some null data. So on that filter, you set it to allow only the data that's not null, so the null data, so that it can go through. So for that one, you have to define it on the transformations. That's where you define now the data quality, or you want to transform the data, and or you want that data from the source. You want to transform it into the targets. So for that one, you have to do a little bit of transformations to get that data the way you want it to be.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So let's refresh.
I think, Denise, I think there's a tool. It's exactly what I was asking too, because, for example, here in Glue, you have the Glue console, and you have the Glue data catalog. So what it does during that process is it compares if the file matches what you have in the data catalog, so that if a field is not matching, like if you declared a column as an integer and you are receiving a character, it will decline that file. So I think when loading again, before the crawler side, there is a check so that the process can fail to pick that file, and it gives you the reason that this file you are giving me as this column is defined as character, while on Amazon you have defined it as something else. I know there's a tool. Okay. Dennis, I think we discussed about Dennis K. I think we discussed about this yesterday. I don't remember which was the tool.
So you can define the data types you need the tables in the data catalog. So in a case we are stream live data that's coming in, and there's a certain field that has a wrong data type. So there's a CloudWatch service which sends you or the specific user notification, and there's a tool you can use to query the data catalog called AWS Athena. So and make that correction you need to the middle of our workflow. So for that case, in cases where maybe our workflow is paused because of a certain error, then the developer or whoever is with the IAM role for that specific Glue job can query AWS Athena and do the correction if need be.
All right. So you are saying the CloudWatch. Is that the tool that you are calling?
I believe it's the one with a feature called SND. Let me just.
So as you confirm, so you can see here our job has run successfully. So you can see the status rates. So once you go now to our S3 bucket and try and see on the output. So you can just go back here. Just try and see if the data has been loaded. So we just go to the S3 and select our buckets, the bucket that we have the output data. So let's give a few minutes. So I think it's already here. Somewhere I should be. Let me see. I think it should be this one. Let me just check. All right, yeah, this one. So select on it. You click so that now you can see if you have that. So So 25th should be this one. So once you click on it, we come on actions. You right click on it. You select on it. Then you select actions, query with S3, select. We just want to see we are going to have some outputs. So JSON file, the format is going to be JSON. So you select and then you say run SQL query. So let's see if we have some output. Yeah, you can see we have some output data here. So if you go back here, let me see if I can show you the AWS Studio. Now this is the initial customer file that we have loaded. Let's see, let's try and confirm if the data is the same data we are getting. So you have to see the customer ID, the name style, title, first name. Let's try and see if this is the same data we are getting as outputs. So if you compare this one, it's the same data we are getting here, right? So that means we have successfully transformed our data from the CSV file format into JSON format. So the next thing I'm going to show you.
Had you put a filter on the number of records?
Yeah, I had put a filter here limit. So let's say 1 to 1,000, because the record I think just almost close to. So let's give some time. So these are data. So this is the same data. We already have it here in this file. So I think you can see the file with the same data we have here. So, okay, so next thing, I just want to show you how now we can do, you can create our own nodes without using now the default nodes that come with the AWS Glue. So you just going to create another job. It's going to be a quick one. So for this one, we select Visual with blank canvas. So great. So for this one, we don't have the end nodes here. So you have to define the source, the transformation that we want, and also the targets. So for instance, let's say we want to, is going to be our data catalog node. Define, gives the properties, call it source, data catalog, come to select the database name. Just going to select just the same CSV file. So let's say we want to do, so let's say now we want to add some transformation. So what we do, you right click on it, and then you select apply. You select the transformation that you want. So you can, for this particular demo, we're just going to select, you see you have different transformations there. You have the SQL, the union, the filter, but I just want to keep it a little bit simple so that everyone can understand. So select on apply mapping. So you see it has automatically linked now the source to this transformation, right? So we just want to keep it simpler. So what we're going to do next, so let's say we want to add another, we want to add now the target. Should be, we want to connect it, should be to S3. Right. So that's how now you connect. Let's say maybe you want to add maybe another transformation, you just click on it, should be, and then you define the kind of transformation that you want. So if you run on it, if you run on this one, we are going to get almost the same results. So you can just cancel this one, discard it, so that now I can show you how to link now the S3 CSV file using now the ETL. We connect now to the Redshift. So I think you can close on this one. You don't want to save it. Just refresh, go back. Let's go. All right. See. Just a minute, I share my screen. I don't know what's disconnecting. So the next thing, I want to showcase you how to do transformations and load the data now to Redshift. I think for Ed already created some clusters for Redshift, and also I done some connections. It's one thing you have to be a little bit careful. It's when you are creating on this, working on this, you have to make sure you define the location that you are working on. Because if you don't do that, it's going to give you the wrong data, or maybe it's going to. So for this particular case, there's this cluster. Let me try and see if the one that I had created. Let me just create the data. I'm trying to see if the right one, because I had created a couple of them. Let's give it a few minutes. Just a few seconds. Just want to confirm if I'm on the right.
I have a question for you, David.
Yep.
You said one thing, you have to define the location you're working on, right?
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit more on that?
You see, what usually happens, this location, they are usually like the servers where now you are going to have like Amazon has several servers. These are usually like the server where they are housing their cloud server. So if you are, let's say you select your server to be within US East, North Virginia. If you, let's say if you're working, let's say you are creating some clusters, or maybe you are doing especially some ETL jobs, and for some reason while the time you were creating that job, or maybe that whatever you're doing, you are working on this server within that particular region. So if you change it, most probably you are not going to have that whatever you are working on is not going to show within that particular server if you choose a different one. So that's the reason why.
Normally, cloud-based technologies, not just AWS, right?
Yeah.
They do their cloud in different regions, right?
Yeah.
Some data, the government doesn't allow any US data to be stored outside of US. Okay?
All right. Yeah.
So that's why they have this region, and normally you can actually see it's mostly gonna be maybe like California and somewhere close to the you know,
Yeah.
on the west side of the US or on the east side. And the reason why they do that is let's say some natural disaster happens and you know, part of the west coast get blown off by say nuclear bomb or something.
Yep.
They have a copy of that data on the other side of the region.
All right. Yeah.
Not just AWS, all cloud, be it Azure, be it Salesforce or whatever, right? That's how they operate. They operate in different region. Again, most of the US data, they're not allowed to store it outside of US. So, and that's why you're gonna see that. The reason I was asking you to try to explain that is because regardless of the location you choose,
yeah,
the cloud technology should be replicating your data. So if you maybe during your setup, right?
Yeah.
You choose somewhere in the west, they should be replicating that data in their region also in the east. It's part of the agreement, right? When you're working on this, you don't. Again, I'm not that familiar with AWS, but I believe the technology should be the same. Just like in Azure, when you log in, you will see your data and you will see the different region, right? And you can actually log in any of those regions. The data should be the same because the type of cluster configuration they use should be replicating that data, not just storing it in one region, but also storing, replicating and making a copy in multiple regions. Some cloud-based technology doesn't even tell you which region it is.
Yeah.
Unless maybe if you if you have that right to really go in and see that. But for most users or the folks that are using this data, you don't even know which region you are because the data should be a replica of each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
So
I'm saying especially for the AWS Glue, once you change this location here, let's say you agree to the clusters or maybe the jobs, once you change it, it doesn't appear within.
and that could be true, right?
Yeah.
Because you are setting up the ETL and all that. The glue is nothing but an ETL, right?
Yeah.
But for the end users who are using this data, they're not seeing this.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
At the end of the day, the aim is for AWS to make a copy of this data in multiple regions, just in case if something calamity happens.
Yeah. All right. All right. Thank you for that.
I think maybe what you can check is like assuming your database is corrupted.
Yeah.
From this perspective, how are you going to recover the data? So you've been loading for some reason, maybe Virginia is down completely and you have 5 years worth of data, you can't start loading it again. So, if you have 5 years worth of data, maybe on Redshift, something, how do you recover it from another server? So you can research on that and you can, all of you guys can research on that and come up with that, see how it works.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you for that. So let's try and see. I'm trying to see where I have now which cluster I'm going to use. So just trying to see. Should be this one. Just a minute. So check this one. Let me try and see if this one that's used. Should take a few minutes. Don't think this one. Anyway, but since I have the connection, I think we are just going to use this one. So also create another connection. So you just have to come here, come to Glue. Some minutes. George.
So why are you doing that? I have a question for everyone, right? So I'm working in a state project, right?
Yeah.
And they're looking to go to the cloud. So part of their current technology, their warehouse that they have, which we're in the process of redesigning and then moving that to the cloud. They haven't decided on the cloud technology they're gonna go with.
All right.
But so their plan is the new warehouse that we're gonna bring, which they haven't, but they're leaning more on using snowflakes, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's gonna be snowflakes on AWS or snowflakes in Azure or whatever, they haven't made up their mind. But they're saying, since most of the data that they are bringing in, right,
yeah,
is a relational database system data, right?
Yeah.
So they are thinking of there's no need to bring this to the lake. They want to skip the lake and populate their warehouse directly with this. So let's say they build let's say we end up with maybe snowflakes in AWS, for instance.
Yeah.
Again, most of them don't understand, but are you able to bring data into, let's say, maybe Redshift or snowflakes in Azure? Are you able to bring the data in this warehouse region without passing through S3?
Yeah, I think that one's possible.
How is it possible?
Because you can define now the source without choosing the.
So in your Redshift, right?
Yeah.
When you are building your ETL for Redshift, you can actually point it to outside of S3.
Yeah, you see, like, I think, are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, maybe let's say could be for your case, maybe let's say you have the source target for maybe my
In
SQL,
my
or maybe, yeah, you're able to define it. And
So
also,
this is okay. Hold on. All right. So source will be that. Okay, go ahead.
and also now for the target could be,
Redshift, right?
yeah, either Redshift.
Yeah. Can you choose Redshift?
Yeah. All right, for this particular case, all right. Yeah,
So you can build this.
yeah. But again, for
What?
this one, you have to define the connections. Like,
Correct.
yeah, we have
So now,
the, yeah, okay.
when you do this, you are skipping your lake and going direct to the warehouse.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. This is when they are both in the same environment. Everything is in order AWS. Can you go back to your selection, Dennis?
Yeah, because this
Yeah,
is.
everything is in it.
I really want to know this.
No, it doesn't have to be on AWS. You can have, like, let's say
There's no
on,
tool which is outside AWS.
yeah,
On those tools, you have none of them is outside AWS. All of them are within AWS.
So this is MySQL in AWS.
no, this
Yeah.
one, but you remember you have the connections here. I think let's go to
Can you
connect.
try to?
Let's go to
I want to
connection.
know if it's possible, right?
All right.
We had an argument on that, so I want to know if this is possible. Is this MySQL in AWS, or can you actually connect? And what is the file format? Like, if you're trying to create this, what do you end up getting? Like, when he's looking at MySQL, what is he looking at? Is he looking at to connect direct to the tables in MySQL, or
Yeah,
what?
directly. And also remember, we have the cognito. I think, is it cognito?
And by the way, this is not an advisable architecture, right?
Yeah.
You know, you want to make sure you bring everything to your lake.
Yeah.
But I have some folks saying they don't have time to wait for that to come to the lake. They already have this established. Why can't they go direct? I'm trying to see if this is really possible. Now, is this you know, can you verify this, right? So when he pulls that data, let's assume this is MySQL outside of AWS.
Yeah.
When you have a connection to the actual table in MySQL, right?
Yeah.
When he reads it, where does he stage it? And what is the format is staging it before he start loading Redshift? Again, if that's possible. You know what I mean? I want to know all these things.
I think should be, it's still going to be, okay, let's start here on connections.
I'm not saying you need to do this now.
Yeah.
You know, maybe something you can research
Oh,
later.
all right. I'll do that. All right. So remember the case I was telling you
On that
about
note, on that note, is it advisable to override just going direct to the warehouse? Because actually,
No, it's
the
not
issue
advisable.
faced, and I didn't feel like it was the best way to go.
No, normally there's a lot of things. Just not only having a copy of your data in your lake, right?
Yeah.
Because when you go to as you're pulling the data from the source, what ends up in your warehouse is only the data you need, right?
Yeah.
Not everything that you pull. So, but in your lake, you're bringing in everything and you're dumping it there, right? And that's where your machine learning happens. That's where your artificial intelligence, because now you have a whole trove of data sitting in your lake, where you are able to use that data, try to come up with a new business process that you don't even know. Unlike the warehouse, which you're only bringing in the data that you already know and you already know the value of it, right?
Yeah.
So this, if this is possible, it's not a recommended approach. The reason why they were thinking of doing this is because they are considering, minimum downtime. You know what I mean? If they build this warehouse, they already know their sources based on the current warehouse they have. Why can't they just source it directly and bring it into this warehouse that they built, right?
Right.
And then subsequently start building out their lake. So that was the plan. And they keep saying, our warehouse is relational system, and most of their sources are relational systems. So why would they want to bring this to the lake? Why can't they bring it directly? Again, they have not all of them are familiar with cloud technology and how that works, what a data lake could really mean to them. And when you talk about, okay, I want to go to the cloud, what are the components, right, that makes up cloud that actually bring that great value that you're paying all that money for the cloud, right? So, people think about the cloud, they think about, oh, I can go there and I don't have to worry about storage. I don't have to worry about maintaining my warehouse. I don't have to worry about the infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
So they think cloud is cheap. Cloud is never cheap. At the end of the day, I remember in one of my projects when we migrated to Azure, what we were spending a month was unbelievable. It was way more expensive, that the company actually reconsidered going to the cloud. So those are the things you gotta, like if you are using the cloud like the way you're using your regular system on-prem, where you run processes and queries and all that, and then you don't care. Those are the money. That's where the companies make money. So when you run your prolonged query, it's using the resources, and that's how they're charging you. So we actually ended up had to go through some training with the users. So because we just migrated to the cloud, and they were running this cloud the same way they were running the process when we were on-prem. So that way we were able to cut. So when you're not really using this, you might wanna minimize the processes that are running, so that way you save you some money. Anyway.
Hey, thanks, Augustine. So I know Dennis case, I think Dennis is supposed to be joining some training.
Yeah.
I think we probably have to let him go since he's already 30 minutes out. But I think overall it's a good presentation. So I think kudos to you.
Yeah.
So good improvement.
Yep, thank you. So I think maybe I can continue on Monday, so that now I can show you how to connect now from the CSV S3 to Redshift. But there's one that I'd already done, this one, and it had gone through. Maybe I can just click on it.
So the other thing is all the kind of questions that we ask.
Yeah.
Like can you make sure incorporate them on the next demo?
Yeah.
So I think whatever Augustine requested, you can do like a quick check on that.
Yeah.
Do a quick check on the CDC changes.
Yep.
So you're pushing this data into JSON file. So on a real scenario, you have like 10 new customers for that day.
Yeah.
We want to see a scenario where the crawler will detect their 10 new records, and the ETL job will only append those records,
Oh, yeah.
So those kind of CDC changes, the job monitoring, the job trigger, if the file comes with an error, how is it going to react, the notification. So get into more details of like a real life scenario.
All right.
Setup let's set the job to run automatically on a daily basis, like, just keep uploading a new file every day,
Yeah.
and, monitor the job for a couple of days. So add all of these simulations,
Yeah.
and then so how are the users going to access the data,
Yeah.
showcase on Athena or something, on the S3 bucket. If I need to join between a customer and a product, how do I join that? So go into more details on the use case, and then we'll catch up.
All right. So I think I have to drop. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Catch up later.